Welcome to the JUSTPADRIDE snowboard channel. I'm Lars Horstman and this is number 3 of my little series on Stranda snowboards reviews. And today we're going to be looking at the Shorty, the women's Shorty, which is absolutely gorgeous. And we will be comparing those to the Bowlrider. If you are new to this channel, I want you to know that I am actually a Stranda Snowboards ambassador. I do work with the company and I wanted to actually separate this platform from my work with Stranda, but it's seemingly impossible since I post a lot of riding footage and people see me on these boards, and since there are not that many reviews from such a small company out there on the internet, I keep getting questions on reviewing these and telling you guys more about them. So that's me doing that right here. I think I'm the lucky winner in this game because I found this brand before I started working with them and decided that this is the kind of ride quality that really suits my riding style best. So of course that's everybody's dream, ending up finally or eventually working with the company that they truly love. As always, I want to talk about similarities first, and there's lots of them between the Shorty and the Bowlrider. However, after all, on snow, those two boards perform very differently. The wood cores between Shorty and Bowlrider are identical, and that is basically what most of the Stranda boards give you: 65% ash wood mixed with 35% poplar. The high ash content really is what creates the magic in these boards. Ash is a very dense hardwood, it's high tensile strength, it keeps its flex for a very long time, yet it does like to be bent, it doesn't mind that. And that results in a really perfect balance between responsiveness and dampening. I think the best you can compare this to is if you think of a diving board at the swimming pool. You jump on those things and they don't just boost you back instantly, they kind of load slowly and then there's a lot of power coming back. And this slight delay in the behavior of the wood when you flex it is what creates the dampening properties in those boards. And that means they're insanely calm on snow. They deal with chatter and vibration and uneven terrain extremely well, yet they still give you that energy back at the end of a turn or when you ollie. The other thing about the wood cores with Stranda is there's no finger joints in these things. So you have tip to tail solid wood stringers, and that results in a much more predictable flex pattern and also in a much longer lasting flex pattern because obviously there's less glue points all over the board. Classic Stranda is also the core profiling, as in the thickness of the board's core throughout its length. I said this in other episodes, Stranda never compromise on edge grip, and part of edge grip is slightly torsionally stiffer flex. So all these boards are thicker in the middle than many of the current snowboards on the market. So they're all pretty solid right here in the center, and that does make for a ride that is less responsive to foot steering, therefore deals with simply being tilted on edge much better. So Stranda generally not a beginner board brand. If you can actually get a board on edge and you're comfortable cruising, you know, like somewhat intermediate turns, no problem at all. But if you're at the stage where you're solely relying on foot steering, there might be better options. Core profiling in the tip to me is what's so important with these things. Stranda recognized the fact that tip flex, what often is being interpreted as nervousness, like, oh, this nose is moving, I can see my nose moving, ooh, the board is chattery. Forget about what you're seeing, concentrate on what you're feeling. This vibration here in the first, 10 inches of the board, is basically the nose doing its thing. It's absorbing bumps and uneven terrain. The important part here is how thick and how solid the board becomes right in front of the insert pack. None of this mild vibration transfers into your legs because the board becomes so much more solid right here. Plus, the ash wood actually deals with that. It absorbs this kind of vibration. And what that gives you is a board that works for you right here in the tip and absorbs a lot of the crappy terrain you may be encountering, while it never folds right in front of the binding. The worst thing a snowboard can do is when you pop on your front foot to initiate a turn and this whole thing just folds up and you go over the bars. So Stranda has this very intelligent and somewhat extreme flex profile in front of the front foot binding. And I find that is a bit of a signature. When I ride these things in powder, you can feel where other boards all of a sudden may buck you. With Stranda, you can feel, oh, there it comes. And it gives you time to move your weight back because it flexes first here and then you start feeling the nose load up a bit with that, with your weight, right? And that gives you time to be, all right, I'm safe. So I hardly ever go over the bars on any given Stranda. This, by the way, is something that I forgot to mention in my Tree Surfer video. The Tree Surfer follows the exact same principle. The core profile being thinner in the tip and then solid right in front of the front foot. Further similarity is the camber profile. You can literally put these boards on top of each other. This is a 159 Bowlrider and a 159 Shorty, and they are a little bit different in their tip and tail length. However, the profile is the exact same. You have camber, that is, you're standing right in the center of the camber. That's a very nice thing when you load the board on hard snow. The camber ends on both boards about, I want to say, 3-4 inches outside the insert pack, and then turns into a very, very mild early rise in tip and tail. Obviously, there's more of that in the nose. You got quite a long extended nose rocker on both these boards, and that makes for the amazing float that the two give you. More superficial, but still on the similarity side, is the top sheet. You get a bamboo veneer that is then printed on with whatever graphic and sealed with multiple layers of lacquer. It's water-based lacquer, and that gives these boards this very expensive and awesome look. On the other side, you find a 4001 DuraSurf sintered base. Very, very high quality sintered base, absorbs a ton of wax. Both these boards come with a super mild structure. It's not coarse, as you may know from brands like Capita or K2 and Ride. Because these boards are more of a power design and powder is dry and doesn't have the moisture that a coarser structure would be dealing with better. So basically, yeah, that's the base on both boards, 4001 DuraSurf sintered base, insanely fast. The more you wax, the better it gets. Both boards will offer you the exact same amount and kind of float and uplift and powder. You are dealing with the same amount of taper. It's 14 millimeters on average. It's up or down by 1 millimeter depending on the board's length. You have the same amount of nose rocker and nose length, and you are equally set back over the effective edge on both boards. So basically, in regards to float, in powder, there's not going to be any noticeable difference. For differences, I'm going to start with the Bowlrider. I just did a comparison between Tree Surfer and Mackerel. That's review number 2. And I said in that review that the Tree Surfer and the Bowlrider are basically identical, and that's what it is. Quick interruption. I am trying my best to provide the snowboard world with tons of information, in-depth kind of thoughts on board design and snowboarding itself, as in turning. and also snowboard maintenance. I find that this information is very hard to come by on the internet. Snowboarding is quite often presented as just a lifestyle or like, you know, some superficial hobby. And it can be so much more if you know a little bit more and understand a little bit more. So that is what my platform is here for, to provide you with this kind of stuff. And it takes a tremendous amount of time of my day-to-day life to make these videos. If you want to support me on this endeavor, you can do so now on a platform called buymeacoffee.com. In my case, that is buymeacoffee.com/JUSTPADRIDE, and there you can tip me in form of a symbolic coffee basically, and show some appreciation if you indeed are learning something from my content. Thank you so much. Don't forget to share all this beautiful stuff with your friends, and let's crack on with our video. So you're looking at the exact same kind of board minus the cutout in the tail that the tree surfer has. And in comparison to the Shorty, the biggest difference I want to say is the side cut of the board, and that has a big impact on how these two ride. When you hop from one to the other, it's instantly noticeable. The Bowlrider has the same side cut as the tree surfer, which is progressive, and that means it gets progressively tighter towards the tail, and that makes for a board that finishes turns snappier and quicker and more almost a bit more aggressively. So if you like that kind of off the lip slash at the end of a turn when you come off your back foot, this kind of side cut radius will enhance that feeling. Overall, the side cut on the Bowlrider is much tighter than on the Shorty. So the 159 Bowlrider is a 7.60 m radius, and that's, in my opinion, that's fairly tight. I think currently that's more on the average side really, but I perceive that as a fairly snappy turning board. The waist width is also different. So the Bowlrider is in its shorter length is a little bit wider, where the 159 Shorty is a 255 waist. The 159 Bowlrider is actually a 259 waist. So yeah, I think, you know, 4 millimeters, that's about a half to a size difference in boots, if you are worried about toe and heel drag. The tip shape is also a little bit different. The biggest difference here, I think, is actually in the tail. The Bowlrider has a little bit more tail than the Shorty. So that makes for a board that, in regards to the kick in the tail, may ride switch a little bit easier. However, I don't think that if you are in the market for a board with this much nose, you are actually looking for incredible switch performance. I think there are better boards out there. Nose follows the same principle as the tree surfer nose. I spoke about this. The combination of long drawn out contact point, no abrupt curve here leading into the tip, plus the blunted shape makes for a board where the blunted nose can punch through things, and the drawn out contact point down here makes for a board that isn't nervous when on edge and encountering bumps. It kind of tends to hold its line better and deflect less. So even though the board has a tight turning radius, it's still a reasonably calm board in regards to how the nose responds, for example, in off-piste conditions. A very small difference between the two is the sidewall material, where on the Bowlrider we're dealing with polyurethane PU sidewalls that are supposed to increase dampening along the edge. We are dealing with UHMW, a polyethylene, on the Shorty. That is basically a very strong material. You'll find that in a lot of sidewalls. To be honest with you, I strongly believe that the dampening properties that I perceive in every Stranda are more in the wood core and in the epoxy that they are using rather than in the sidewall. So I'm just mentioning this little design aspect here, so you know. All right, Shorty. What is different about the Shorty? I'm going to use the women's because it's so gorgeous, and the percentage of female viewers of my channel is exactly 1% according to YouTube. So hopefully this boys club gets disrupted here by a beautiful women's board, Shorty 153 in this case. Shorty overall offers a much larger size run than the Bowlrider. So there's a women's in a 148 and a 153. Then the male version goes 59, 64, 64 wide and 69. So Shorty much larger size range than Bowlrider, which only comes in a 59 and a 65. Speaking of that, the 59 Bowlrider is the equivalent to the 57 Tree Surfer. The 2 centimeters are in the tail cutout. And the 65 Bowlrider is the equivalent to the 62 Tree Surfer. Tree Surfer now also 62 wide, which maybe is going to happen in the Bowlrider in the long run. We don't know. Back to the Shorty. Biggest thing here is one material thing in the core and the side cut. The nose of the Shorty has been beefed up with Titanal stringers. What is Titanal? It's not titanium, as some people think. It is an aluminum, and I'm not quite sure what the actual chemical abbreviation stands for, but I know what it does. It gives the board even more dampening. You find Titanal under the top sheet on race boards, on race skis, and it's all about vibration dampening. The reason why Stranda are not doing that across the entire board, we have experimented with it, is that Titanal can make a board somewhat dead. Like it's so damp, it's so smooth, it's so absorbent that it doesn't really give you this load, this powerful snap back. Of course, when you're talking race boards that are gnarly stiff, you probably do get that snap. But on this kind of all-mountain freeride board, full Titanal, we didn't like it. We appreciate what the Ashwood is doing in that regard. So why did we put that into the nose? That has remotely something to do with the side cut of the board. If you consider that a board with a larger turning radius is more stable at speed because it enters turns smoother, lazier, calmer, slower, if you will, and therefore it can carry more speed because it doesn't throw you into turns so sharply, you would think that a board that can ride faster due to its radius can also be more stable in regards to vibration and the overall feel. So we put Titanal stringers into the nose. I spoke about nose vibration on these long rocker boards, long nose rocker boards earlier. And to calm that down even more, we put Titanal stringers in that nose. So this board, combining the absorption in the tip with the longer radius, simply handles higher speeds much better than the Bowlrider, and is therefore, the board to me is a bit more of an all-mountain freeride powerboard, where the Bowlrider is overall much more playful to be called a freeride board. Also, the side cut radius on the Shorty is not progressive. It is a multi-radial side cut, but that means the side cuts that are utilized along the edge, they are blended equally, symmetrically from the inside out. So it's not that the board only tightens its radius in the tip or the tail. It's simply a symmetrical kind of blend between different side cuts from the center out to the tips. So you don't get this progressive load of the tail, this snappy turn exit. And again, that contributes to smoother rides, to faster rides. Not like this abrupt turn exit, but more of a smooth kind of powerful, flowy, free-ridey kind of vibe in regards to how the boards turn. The nose shape on the Shorty is a little bit different from the Bowlrider, but it follows the same principle, and I almost want to say it's more of a cosmetic thing than a functional thing. You still have a blunted nose, it's not quite as far drawn out to the side right here at that point as the Bowlrider, but you still have a blunted tip rather than a pointy one or a round one, and you still have this long drawn out contact point. So basically the way these two boards deal with choppy conditions in my mind is very much identical. I guess you can already imagine what the verdict is here. It is simply a matter of preference. You're dealing with two boards that give you superb float and powder and amazing edge grip. However, the way they turn is different due to the side cut. And then there's that construction difference, slightly more stable nose on the Shorty due to the Titanal stringers. So playful vibes to be found here, a little bit snappier off the back foot, quicker turning, maybe more suitable, the Bowlrider, for people that are less advanced in their riding. You could argue that because tighter turning boards are simply a little bit easier to handle and to steer for less advanced riders. And then in regards to the Shorty, first biggest thing here, there's a women's model that is awesome, 148 and 153, much larger size run of the model. And then yeah, this thing has clearly more of a free ride vibe. And I said this in other videos, and you've seen tons of Shorty footage here from me on the channel. If some evil person came along and said, Lars, you can only have a single snowboard, sorry, the golden days are over, that would be the Shorty. I would ride my Shorty year round in every condition because it's an insanely good carver, it's an insanely good floater, and what I appreciate over the Bowlrider is simply the more linear kind of turn shape and the fact that I feel more comfortable at higher speeds. But yeah, that is a preference and also a bit of a terrain thing. So ask yourself the question who you are. You can't really go wrong between the two, and I hope this little review will help you to make up your mind. I very much hope that you are learning some things about board design in general, rather than just hearing the comparisons between Bowlrider and Shorty or whichever boards are on the table. I'm trying to give you some general ideas of snowboard design so you can maybe pick boards a little bit more appropriately in the future. Alright, if you like what you are seeing on this channel, please don't shy away from sharing it with your friends. I would love to grow this platform even further. So far it's been great. Thanks for tuning in. I'm still getting way more views than I have subscriptions, so if you haven't subscribed yet, do it right now and ring that notification bell as well so you know what's coming up next. This will be likely review number 4. A comparison between the new Pipeliner 2.0 and the Cheater. Those are the most carving specific, soft boot carving specific boards in the Stranda line, and I'm certain that there are people out there itching for this comparison. Alright, take care guys, hope I see you out there on snow pretty soon. All the best, bye bye.